Okay, so this one is for parents. Those of you that have children, this message is for you. Now, I know that this is pretty out there to be able to give advice to parents because I don't know the context of your children. I don't know the context of your relationship or the lack thereof. But I want to come from the idea that you just broke up, you're divorced, or you're a parent and you have children. So let's just start there first. You went through the breakup of someone that you have children with, or a divorce. So the first thing that I would say is there's no value, literally zero, in talking poorly and negatively about your ex. The reason is because who you're negatively talking about is still your child's dad or their child's mom. And they have to find out for themselves in their relationship, their personal relationship with that parent, how that fits in. Now, the context that I come from, number one, as a child, mom and dad, they're still married, 40 years together, okay? When I got married, divorced after 7, full custody over my 3 sons. So that means they go visit their mom who lives in a different state, hundreds of miles away, for 7 weeks in the summertime. And then we do the weird, every other year for the holidays or for spring break. And so for me, there was no value that I saw for me in talking negatively about their mom. Did she and I have our own personal relationship? Yes. That then didn't obviously work out. That's why we got divorced. Yeah. But they don't need to know those things. First off, a lot of those things are more adult conversations. A lot of those are adult struggles they don't need to worry about when you're a kid. The other thing is that no matter how horrible she was to me, she can still be a loving mother to them. And I cannot take that away. No matter how diabolical I want to be, or no matter how horrible she was to me in the relationship, it doesn't give me the permission to taint that relationship between mother and son or mother and child. And so that's the context that I come from for you. If you find yourself wanting to muddy the waters, wanting to prove that you are the one that was wronged, you are the one that was scorned, I get it. But remember, that is their parent. No matter how horrible that individual is, it will not change the fact that that was mom or dad. And yes, did mom or dad's contribution of DNA lead to who they are? And maybe that's their only valuable contribution to that child's life. Sure. But that's that child's decision to make. And it's that child's opinion to create and to find out. They don't need our adult influence in that matter. At the same time, it's not your place to play the martyr and make up all the excuses for that individual for the lack of attention, right? So it reminds me very much of the single mom that I've talked to. When you get divorced, by the way, you get into this special club of other divorced people. And so I remember talking to some single moms and them like telling me how they would make excuses for the deadbeat dad that wouldn't take time for their kids or would miss the weekends. And I'm like, why are you doing that? That father needs to be held to a certain level of responsibility. And if they don't show up, it's not your job to make it up for the kids. Yes, can they be disappointed? Yes. But unfortunately, that's the relationship between their father and them. And you, being the mom, can step in and just make sure that they are awesome with you. You don't need to be able to say, oh, well, your dad, he still loves you and he still cares about you. Appreciate the love comment, but I would stop it right there. Dad still loves you because you don't want to give him a complex about that. That's therapy down the road. But you definitely want to make sure that you don't give excuses for his inability to prioritize, his inability to deliver and be a father. And again, the context that I come from in this is that I'm a believer that any success outside of the home won't compensate for failing in it. And it doesn't mean that your kids are all going to win the Nobel Peace Prize, become president, or a multi-gazillionaire. What it means is that you were there to help bridge a relationship with them, and they see you as someone that they can trust and communicate with, and they see you as a parental figure. Remember, life changes when they're young, right? I'm changing diapers for infants, and then we're feeding them as toddlers, and then they start going to school. And that's when they start going to school, they start getting a lot more outside influence, not from me, right? Teachers start playing a big role. Peers start playing an even bigger role when they become teenagers. And then once they leave the house, it's almost now we're more on a peer relationship, right? Because they're 18, they're making their own decisions, right? They're going to college, they're working, they're paying their own bills. And if there's a revolving door at your house, then there's some decisions that you're still helping make for them, or you're still providing. And so it becomes an opportunity then as a parent that's to an adult child to change that relationship. You don't want your children feeling like they need to live up to some level of expectation. And that's the next thing I want to come to. Parents, please recognize your own failings, recognize your own weaknesses, recognize your own fears, and make sure that we are not putting that upon our children. Because if I'm afraid of entrepreneurship because of the experiences that I've had, there's no reason that I should be planting those seeds of negativity, of doubt into my daughter's mind because she might want to become entrepreneurial. Don't have a daughter, by the way, all sons. The other thing I think of is all the ways that you have failed are great teaching moments for that child to understand. So do not hide your failures. Share your failures. And most importantly, share what you learned. Share how you changed. That's going to be extremely powerful for them to understand ultimately what is failure and how that applies to them. Now, of course, there's certain things that you might not want to expose to your children when it comes, let's say, again, the failure of a relationship. Could be some real adult-themed things there that you don't want to talk to them about. Or, again, if it's with it was with a failed relationship like a divorce, you might not necessarily want to say those things, even when they are of adult age, just because those are real, just intimate moments between you and your ex that just doesn't paint either one of you in a pretty light. And so, because you don't want them to think that it's okay to kind of repeat these, weird things that you might have done, or these failures that you had, or the mistakes that you've had. And so the moment that you can help your child focus on being them, gaining confidence, making decisions for themselves, that's when you can help that child start winning and stop living life on your terms. Yes, now a child a lot of times wants to make you proud. And it's amazing. But more importantly, we should be emphasizing as parents for them to become an individual. Now, of course, there's a big culture of here in the United States of individualism. We love the people to have their own attitude and to have their own persona and to share that with the world. I'm not saying you need to abandon everything that you've ever taught, because I know that this video can be watched by people around the world. So understand where culture plays a role in your life. Understand where your family plays a role in your life. You need, as a parent, to help your children become who they need to be, not what you think that they should become. Just because you think the life of an engineer or of a doctor is the way to go doesn't mean that that's the right solution for your child. Making income in this world is not the way to judge yourself. To be honest, it's a horrible way to judge yourself, because number one, they won't ever accrue enough money to be satisfactory if they never make the Forbes 1,000 richest people in the world, which right now is getting pretty close to being a heavy mega millionaire, getting close to being a billionaire, right? Billionaires are becoming a much more common thing worldwide than it was just 20 years ago. And so you don't want to put that complex on somebody that they think that attaining this kind of level of status income-wise or with stuff, because all that stuff is fleeting and can completely collapse. It's garbage. Let's help our children become the best versions of themselves. Sherman's out.